To make currency in PoE, you need 50 divine tablets. You need 500 rarity on your gear, find the best modifiers available, have a full atlas, find city areas, or have gear worth 20 mirrors, and use the most elaborate expedition strategy ever. Or, well, you can follow the strategies in this video instead. They're lazy, require no setup, and I've used them to make thousands of divines. Because I'm a tired old man, I just want to spend the little time I have playing the game blasting. And for our first strategy, we have what I call the no fucks given expedition strategy. In terms of currency, I've been averaging around 80 divines an hour doing this. And that's profit, because we're not really investing any currency here. This strategy is simple. We want to be running as many maps as possible, as quickly as possible, for the off chance of finding high-value grand expeditions or high-value maps. For the Atlas, I'm grabbing expanding territory remnants for the extra remnants, and you can use the increased chance of expedition encounters when unveiling new expedition logbooks. We then have the power rune, because we won't be chaining our remnants, so the other ones are useless. I then grab the extra remnant, a chance to chain modifiers, and desert for item quantity and effectiveness. When you're doing your logbooks, you're looking to just open up as many logbooks as possible, with as many of these modifiers as possible, allowing for more grand expeditions. You don't need to give a shit about what they say, apart from one special map. And that's if you find the text Fallen Skies. Since you're running insane amounts of maps, you're gonna stumble across this every now and then, and you'll want to grab that one right away. There's also a trick to run the map twice. I'll show it here on a random, unique map. You simply go to a map, add your Vision of Paradise, and then swap back to your unique Fallen Skies map. This will allow the Vision of Paradise to work, even though it shouldn't, and you can run that map once again. And the reason you want to run it is due to being granted a confirmed Alder's Saga, or Perfect Flux per run, for about 40 divines. Alright, and what about the other maps? Well, I just use regular logbooks, and you can also use Uhtred's Saga if you haven't gotten the mana rune yet. Then, we head into the maps, and we scout. We check all of the runes if they have something valuable, and if they don't, we re-roll. Then, we just make a chain to collect the good ones and ignore all of the others. If you don't get anything good, then you just throw out one explosive, explode it, and fuck off. The big ticket item you're looking for mainly is the Alder's Saga, which you should be getting frequently if you run enough maps. But you'll also want to grab divines, greater chaos orbs, and anything worth more than a couple of chaos orbs. The rest can suck a dong. Funnily enough, this strategy has been more valuable for me than the typical full juice FUB Guna strat, simply due to not investing any currency. Because for the tablets, it doesn't really matter. I'm just grabbing any rarity or effectiveness tablets, irradiated tablets I can find, and go. Now you'll also be running a lot of non-grand expedition maps. Is there anything you want to do there? Yes, sir. Here, we're running Delirium for the splinters and liquids. You're essentially just running to the end boss, running through the mirror shards and fracturing mirrors that you pass by, and then end the Delirium. For this to work, you just need to have this Atlas passive, and you'll start collecting splinters. Per map, you're getting about 1 to 2 divines from splinters alone, doing this if you've got some decent tablets. And for tablets, you're looking for extra fracturing mirrors and/or mirror shards. Those are the most valuable. You can then also grab extra unique bosses and splinter stack size, but I usually just go with the fracturing mirrors and shards that I have in my stash. Lastly, for Master, I'm rocking Jado with these passives, allowing me to spawn higher rarity remnants and get some extra tablet bonuses. And it's also a good setup for both the non-Grand Expedition maps and the Grand Expeditions, so you never have to swap master. I'll let you in on a little secret. I usually don't swap out my delirium tablets either. I just use the same for everything because I'm lazy. Opsy. Alright, for the next strategy, I'm going to show you my 2 favorite pinnacle bosses to run if you want something completely brain dead. This is something I do when I'm watching Netflix or a Riley Reid gangbang on the other monitor and don't want to pay attention to the game. The most valuable one that I've tested currently is Arbiter of Ash. I ran this guy probably 1,000 times last league and made several mirrors fighting him. This league he's not as good, but I've been averaging 127 divines fighting him. The biggest downside of this boss is that the investment is fairly high, so you'll have to run him for more than a couple of runs to average out the costs. To do this strategy, all you really need is a half-decent build, and you have to do some quick napkin math. What I mean by that is check the cost of the 3 fragments that you'll need. For my last 100 runs, 1 run cost 14.5 divines for me. Then, you check the cost of an unidentified Morior Invictus. For me, that's 10 divines. And lastly, the unidentified Prism of Belief. For these runs, they cost 48 divines each. After doing 1,000 runs or so, the drop rates for the Morior is around 45 to 50%, and the Prisms around 25%. So if the cost of Morior and Prism times their percentage drop rate is higher than the cost of entry via the fragments, then you're making profit. All of the other drops are just bonuses on top of that, like Raw Divines, the Flame Scepters, a lot of level 20 skill gems and so forth. Then, you just kill the guy and sell all of the items unidentified. I don't even bother picking up the rare items, I just go for the big value ones and sell them. Personally, I'm doing 1 run in about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Then, the only thing you can do to further your drops is to use Doriani's with Head of the Snake. But you need to be aware that if you use this, then you won't get any extra revives. So if you're dying, then you fuck yourself over using this. But as long as you're always killing him, then use it. And if you're not running Doriani, then make sure to use Keen Appraisal, because you'll get quite a few good exceptionals, and you can also use Untold Histories for more lineage gems, which sells for a few divines each. For the other boss that I've been running, we have the Delirium Raven Trickster. Here, I'm using the same Doriani setup as before, but we're looking for the Raven Touch Shard. This sells for 100 divines each, and has about a 2.5% drop chance. This farm used to be insane, then it became shit due to the price of Raven's Reflection increased, the item that you need to open the pinnacle encounter. But now they have dropped again, by a lot, simply due to a lot of people running simulacrums where it drops. On average, from the Raven Touch shards alone, I've been making around 80 divines an hour. But you can, of course, get some good exceptional items and other drops as well to boost it further. Overall, it's a great farm to run if you don't want to go for the higher investment Arbiter of Ash. Alright, the no fucks given expedition strat and boss farming have been my go-to currency farms this league. But I've got 2 more strategies that are still highly profitable and fairly brain dead. The first one being boss rushing. Now I know what you're thinking. Man, what the hell? I've seen this strategy a million times already. Pack up your shit and go back to D4. Chill out, hombre. Here's the thing. Most people are doing this strategy wrong. So wrong, in fact, that you're halving your divines per hour. Alright, and why is that? Well, the basic strat that people are following is this. You look for Jade Isles to drop a Rakiata's flow. You boost your Waystone quantity. Throw in a Visions of Paradise and a Mastered Domain for extra drop chance and lose currency, because the drop chance of Rakiatas is low and Visions of Paradise costs fuckloads. So, don't get baited. The goal that we're going for here is of course to look for Jade Isles to drop Rakiatas, along with looking for Garukans in the temporal sandstorms. And if you find one of these, then it's actually worth to run Visions of Paradise, due to Garukans being way more expensive than the other lineage gems. And lastly, we look for Mansion in the Mists for Rigwald's Ferocity. When you run these maps, you want to ensure you have a mastered domain with the Forest modifier. You also want a Waystone with as high of a Waystone quantity as possible. You want the Forest Mastery node, and you want to use Jado with untold histories. But doing the anomaly bosses is only going to be a small part of your profit. The actual strategy is as follows. We're running Delirium on every traveling map using the Delirium tablets shown before. We are then looking for anything of value, and there's actually a lot. If you don't know what way to go, then you just go for a Citadel beam in the sky, because you want to run those as well with as much Waystone quantity as possible. Then you want to have a Breachstone and an audience in the King in your inventory, because the Breachstone will allow you to spawn Breach Strongholds, which always drops Breach Lord sacks. If you run these maps with a high Waystone quantity map, then you can drop 2 of them for a total of 25 Diviner's profit. Pretty sweet. But the King in the Mists is actually fantastic too, because not only does he always drop Head of the King, which sells for a few divines, you also have a good chance of finding rare omens, and most importantly, a high chance of finding a From Nothing diamond. And this, unidentified, sells for over 30 divines. But there's more. If you run the Grand Mirrors, then you can add deliriousness along the path that you're farming for more drops, but also spawning simulacrums. Usually these suck, but with the off chance of dropping a Voices for half a mirror, I'm always running them. And I've actually gotten a Voices this league. Alright, so we have the Anomaly bosses, Citadels, King in the Mists, Breach, and Simulacrums. That's a lot of good stuff to do, but guess what? There's more valuable maps that we can find along our path. A great map to look for in particular is the Asmerian Ranges, because if you go there, you'll always find a special path at the beginning of the map. There, you can socket in the 3 different Beric rings, which by the way, costs absolutely nothing. And in return, you'll get the Taming Ring, which sells for more than 6 divines unidentified. So basically, 6 divine profit in just 1 minute, because you can just leave the map afterwards. Pretty sweet. And lastly, one final thing I'm looking for is city areas. I'm avoiding these like the plague, not because I don't want them, but because I'm saving all of them for when I want to juice hard. So after doing this strategy for a day, I'm ready to just blast fully juiced city biomes for a couple of days. Alright, now for the tablets, Waystones, Atlas, and Master. For tablets when traversing, you use the Delirium tablets, and for the Citadels, you use tablets with increased Waystone quantity. Simple as that. For the Anomaly bosses, we use a Forest Biome Mastered Domain, and a Vision of Paradise only when running the Temporal Sandstorms. As Waystones, I just max out the modifiers and corrupt them. I vendor the tier 14s and use the tier 15s while saving the tier 16s and the ones with the highest Waystone quantity. Because the former I save for high-end juicing or selling, and the latter I want to be using on Pinnacle and Anomaly bosses. For the Atlas, you just unlock as much as possible and make sure that the increased lineage gem drop chance is selected in the forest areas when doing the Anomaly bosses. That's very important. When it comes to the Master, I'm using Jado for pretty much everything because I'm too lazy to swap nodes. So I just use unexpected missions, unforeseen threats, partial translations, and untold histories for everything except for maps like King, In the Mists, and Breach Strongholds where I can't use tablets. There, I use evolutionary pressure, disengaged safeties, improved calibration, and Head of the Snake instead. All right, and for the next strategy, we have what I call the Netflix strategy. Because without Netflix on your second monitor, you'll go insane running these. And it's of course, Trial of Suck My Balls and Trial of Chaos. Now for the latter, the Chaos one, this nets me 60 divines per hour easily. Each run takes me about 10 minutes, and always nets you one of the fates that I sell, and a few raw currency and soul cores that always sell. And the strategy is insanely simple. Just buy some inscribed ultimatums and go. You want a fast build and avoid the choices that kills you automatically, like the one that ends the trial once you've gotten hit 7 times. Avoid those and you will be fine. For Trial of Sekimas, we are going to boost newbies. People pay 4, 5, 6 divines to get boosted simply because they do not want to run it on their alts, or because they need to change ascendancy. And it's easy to boost as long as you grab any half-decent relics. First, you need to cap out your honor resistance at 75. Then you just stack max honor, and if you want, relic drop chance. You can also use a desperate alliance to always drop an Against the Darkness jewel, but the fight becomes actually hard then if you want to boost at the same time. Then, when running the trials, you just look for options that don't nuke your build. Like for me, I want to ensure I don't pick reduced evasion. Then, you avoid Gauntlet because that takes too long. And lastly, you want a build that's fast as fuck. Like Twister, for example. Twister is also nice here because it usually uses evasion, which you can utilize to avoid all Gauntlet traps, which is a neat little trick. After doing this a couple of runs, you'll notice what options to avoid though, and which ones are beneficial. It's not that difficult. Once you've understand what to do, you can go to the TFT Discord and the Trial Ascendancy Boost page and type that you're boosting to bring some newbies in and collect your divines. A pretty sweet, easy and kinda boring currency farm. But at least I can watch Netflix while doing it. And that, my friends, are some of the lazy farms I've used to farm a lot of my currency this league. In the next one, I'll show some of the most unhinged farms I've played this league, so stay tuned for that. Until next one, peace.